Good evening, one and all. This is Dr. Ranjit Singh from Indian Institute of Information Technology, and today I will be talking something about a new discipline emerging in the area of finance, which is known as behavioral finance. Many of us have come to know about the field called behavioral economics or behavioral finance when in the year 2017 Professor Richard Thaler have got Nobel Prize in this behavioral economics for his landmark work in developing nudge theory. And then there has been a curiosity among the scholars all over the world to know about the area what exactly is the behavioral finance. The term finance, to be more precise, and in general management, the formal discussion and the formal studies started in and around the 1950s. And in the traditional finance model developed by many scholars, one fundamental assumption is assumed in all the theories that the human being or the players in the market are rational. If we divide the quadrant based on the rationality and the decision making, that there are four possibilities arising: that rational man making rational decision, rational man making irrational decision, irrational man making irrational decisions, and irrational man making rational decisions. The traditional finance models and the traditional economics model, they dealt only with the one quadrant, that is rational man making rational decision, and the rest of the quadrants are not yet to be addressed. In fact, the rest of the quadrants are yet to be addressed by the theories or the scholars who had worked or they are working in this field. Behavioral finance is an explanation to the questions asked in the remaining three quadrants, that irrational man making irrational decisions, or irrational man making rational decision, and rational man making irrational decisions. Traditional finance theories, they assume human being to be rational, whereas the behavioral finance, they assume human being to be a normal people. That's the basic difference between behavioral finance and standard finance. That is the assumption of rationality. The first known paper in the area of behavioral finance is written by Professor Paul Slovic in the year 1979. And then there has been some scholarly work done by Professor Daniel Kahneman, then Amos Tversky. And in the year 2002, probably it was 2002, that the Nobel Prize of Economics was given to a psychologist, Professor Daniel Kahneman, for his work on prospect theory. And then this discipline is always being a subject of discussion among the experts and the scholars. Now, what is behavioral finance? Behavioral finance is application of psychology in solving the problems related to finance and economics. There is not only one discipline which affects the area of behavioral finance, that we cannot say that only psychology is affecting the area of behavioral finance. It is sociology is equally important, psychology is important, anthropology is important, economics is there, and other related disciplines like management or engineering or other developments in the science and technology are also affecting behavioral finance equally. Since this discipline is an emerging area, there are not any specific theories developed in the area of behavioral finance. However, there are certain theories and there are certain scholarly work done in the area of behavioral finance, and there are certain theories which we have derived or borrowed from the other disciplines like sociology or anthropology or economics, and then we try to translate it in the context of behavioral finance. Certain theories like prospect theory, basically this is a theory on psychology. Regret theory, then we have theory on overreaction, underreaction, mental accounting, herd behavior, overconfidence, underconfidence, social and cultural values, magical thinking in finance. So all these things, hindsight bias, confirmatory bias. So all these things we used to discuss in behavioral finance. And in fact, all these theories have huge impact on the decisions people are making on in respect of finance and economics. Like one day, one of my students was asking, I was teaching merger and acquisitions, and we were discussing in the class about purchase consideration. So the students asked me, like, what governs a company to bid for another company, and at what price they should bid? It may be possible that one manager or the one acquirer company will be bidding a higher price than its intrinsic value, and another manager may be bidding even a higher price than the previous manager for the same company. And what decides them? What governs them to go for a higher bidding or the lower bidding? Frankly speaking, there is no such answer available in the traditional or standard finance models. Traditional finance model will only calculate the intrinsic value of the company. That okay, this X is the intrinsic value of the company. Now, another company, acquirer firm will be bidding, whether it will be more than the X or it is less than the X. It depends upon the psychology or the sociological background of the manager who is working on behalf of the acquirer firm. Similarly, another example is that suppose I bought one share of say company X for 200 rupees. I hold it for 6 months, and then the value of that company's share, it went into the market up to 400 rupees. Definitely I had made a profit of 100%, and I will be deciding to sell these shares, and I will be considering myself as a very smart investor. But there is another investor sitting on the other side of the screen who is buying the same equity shares at 400 rupees, and he is also thinking himself or herself to be a very smart investor. Why it is happening? The same security for one person at the same price one is selling, and at the same price another is buying, because of this information asymmetry. Based on the information I have taken a decision to sell those shares, and another person is having another set of information, and based on those informations that person is trying to buy the same security. So this is how the buying and selling decisions, buying and selling mechanisms, it goes into the market. Another example I can just quote, because this is the lockdown period is going on, and many of us might have been watching Ramayana and Mahabharata on Doordarshan. One thing is very clear in the Ramayana or even in the Mahabharata, that these two epics are all about the Dharma Yuddha. And it is clear that in Mahabharata, Pandavas are fighting for the Dharma, and Kauravas were fighting with the Adharma. Ram was with the Dharma and Ravan was with the Adharma. If Dharma and Adharma would have been the absolute entity, absolute concept, then there should not be any person fighting with the Kauravas, and there should not be any person fighting on behalf of Ravanas. But still, there are a lot of people in fact who fought for Ravan. There are more people who has fought for Kauravas, because their interpretation of Dharma was different than that of other people. So this is all about behavioral finance, that the same person, the same equity shares, the same investment decision, same financing decision might be lucrative for one person and may not be lucrative for another person. So there are certain theories, there are a lot of permutation and combinations going at the back of one person's mind, and all these things are governed based on his or her sociological, psychological, economics and other perspectives. So that's all for the behavioral finance, and the remaining things we will be discussing when we will meet in the class. Thank you.